You're now listening to D&D Live on Demand. What up, world? Welcome back to another episode of Breaking Command, a D&D football podcast. What's up? It's your man DH, and D Mitty is in the building for another week. D Mitty, what up, bro?
Feeling good, feeling great. How about you, brother?
Hey, man, I'm feeling awesome coming off a 3-game win streak that I had no participation in. Shout out to the Washington Commanders for
You
getting.
did. We all have, man, as fans, we all have our participation in that, bro.
Hey, but you know
Really?
what? Sometimes the way I be so tired, bro, I feel like I done played, bro, for real. But we're back.
Yeah, that 5-game leg you had, I understand.
Exactly. But we are back for another episode of Breaking Command, a week 9 edition where with this week we will talk about everything that's going on with the team in regards to the matchup against the Vikings. We'll recap the previous matchup against the Colts, and we'll talk about some other news that maybe if you've been under a rock, I don't know if you've heard. But we'll get into that all right here on the podcast. Of course, remember, thank you for tuning in, of course. And if you are a friend of the show, we appreciate you. So we want to make sure you like, subscribe, share with a friend. And if you feel so inclined to leave us a 5-star review, you can get your 5 seconds of fame.
Watch
That's it.
this.
That's all. Yeah, man. So we appreciate you coming back and tuning in and subscribing, of course, to the channel, where I promise you, as the season goes along, there'll be a lot more content added there. And a lot of guests that you're going to not want to miss. So make sure you turn that bell notification on for
Absolutely.
So let's get into it real quick, D-Mitty. Before we get into this week, let's talk about last week. That was the Washington Commanders beating the Arizona, beating the Indianapolis Colts 17-16 on the road in a thriller, which it shouldn't have been, taking them to the 4-4 mark, making them 500 on the season after a 3-game win streak. D-Mitty, first off, give me your thoughts on last week's game.
A thriller it was, Brody, and I will say this, man. The defense once again is continuing to carry this team. The defense is continuing to show the offense, if you put up points, we're going to win games. And with what the offense put up, I'm not necessarily disappointed. I felt like it was a coaching issue I had, if that makes sense. So overall, coaching could have been better. Some changes could have been made, and I know that the defense once again carried the team, but it could have been some changes made on defense as well. But overall, we won it. A dub is a dub, whether it's 1 point or 10 points. I'm happy with it.
Yeah, so definitely in the moment when we were talking, I was kind of concerned because I felt like we had the upper hand majority of the game, and the game could have been put away a long time ago, but we made it an nail biter when it didn't have to. And I think the main thing we've been saying here on the podcast is winning in spite of your guys being out and overcoming some things. And they did just that. It came down to the wire, but they made the plays when they needed to make them to continue on the win streak.
Absolutely.
The guy stepped up, the bag man, Scarence Terrence stepped up, made the big ball late, saving Taylor Heineke once again. We ain't gonna get into that yet. And then Heineke going in for the go ahead 1-yard quarterback sneak for the touchdown. Talk about how you felt during that moment as the game was ending in Indianapolis.
Man, I will say this, bro. I trusted the offense at that time. I did feel at that time they were on a mission. The plays that were being made at that time, I knew that they weren't going to let us down because they were focusing on getting the ball to Terrence, and I appreciate them. Getting that $70 million man the ball.
And I mean, when you have him signed up like that for that type of bread, that's what you have to do. You had to get him the ball. And we were talking throughout that drive. I will say I'm not the biggest Heineke fan, and you know from this last episode how I feel about Taylor Heineke. But in that situation, in that drive, he did what he had to do to get them down the field. Had some good plays, some elusive plays, and made some plays with his feet, which I think that's the bonus that everybody gets with Taylor Heineke. So he able to make some plays down the stretch, extend some drives, and they drove down the field and found a way to win. And man, and the team rallies around them.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. I will say this, man. It's something about that guy's moxie. It's something about him as a quarterback, and I guess as a leader, as a quarterback, that the coaches and the offense they follow him, man, and they love it or like it to some degree with him being on the center.
Hey man, and I can't knock it. I've had some time to kind of think about the team and where they're coming from, and I mean, I look at it like this: if I was a player, regardless of who's there, I got to do my job, and the job is to try to win every week, and that's what they are doing. We'll worry about what happens when Wentz come back. When Wentz comes back, if Wentz comes back, we'll worry about it then.
Right.
Uh, and just as the team has to do, they just have to win regardless of who's under center for the team. But they went to Indianapolis on the road, squeaked out a win. And I guess that adds to the lure of who Taylor Heineke is. So, D-Mitty, let's kind of pivot to um, Taylor Heineke himself. Let's talk about the Heineke hype. Okay, there's a lot of Heineke hype, especially after him helping the team get their second victory with him at the starter um, against Indianapolis. And there's a lot of Heineke hype this week. How are you feeling about the hype train and the continued lore that is Taylor Heineke?
I don't believe the hype is real. I believe the momentum is real. And when I say momentum of beating the Bears with Wentz under center and going into Green Bay with a team that was going into Green Bay with a team that can I don't want to use the word formidable, but that's the only word that comes to mind. But with a team that can potentially beat that Green Bay team, and you have the hype of, oh, Heineke, he's been a starter, and he has this moxie about him. It was the team that brought out that win in Green Bay. It was the team that brought out that win in Indianapolis. And the hype to me is just a part of the sheer momentum of going into those particular games.
Yeah, and I mean, you have to just win and try to beat whoever's in front of you, right? And I mean, I think they've done a great job with really setting that tone and just going out and trying to play whoever they can every
Right.
week. And I think the hype train uh comes in with Heineke, whereas he gets this love. And normally I said I wasn't gonna do it, but I'll talk about it. He gets this love for these situations, but partly it's the situations that he created where he hasn't been able to close the game. He hasn't been able to make the throws throughout the game. And then when it's clutch time, that's when he steps up and makes a play. But if he makes any of the plays that he misses throughout the game, it could be an easier move and could make it easier for them. But I'm glad he
Especially with the
makes
yeah,
time happen. But go ahead.
especially with the Colts game. Your point is exactly to the Colts game. If you didn't throw that interception, if you would have made the throws that were needed to be made to get out of those third and long situations or what have you, you would have won that game maybe 21-16 or 24-16 or what have you, and putting yourself in a better position because to have to throw an interception and then come back and go, I think he went over 70% completion percentage after throwing the interception. Like, so okay, you have to mess up to get, and I know this sounds a little cliche, you have to mess up to get better, but why not carry the momentum?
Can't you just be better? Why do we
That's
have to
what I'm
mess up?
trying to
It's
say.
like talking
Thank
to
you, brother.
your
Took
kids,
the
man.
words out of
It's
my
like talking
mouth.
to your kids, man. They mess up and then they do right. Like, do I gotta punish you to do right? Do I gotta take your
Why?
Xbox away to make
Why?
you focus? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't get it. I don't
I
get it.
don't. I
But
don't.
it goes into the hype, and the longer he continues to win and help this team um get victories, it's gonna add to the lure. And I think it's just only gonna make it harder for the coaching staff. Well, no, it's not gonna be hard because Ron is gonna go back to Carson. He's gonna go back to Carson. I already know
Yeah,
it.
man. For a lot of reasons, man. We don't had that conversation before, and I feel like the only way he stays with Heineke is if for some reason in practice and for some reason this hype and momentum that Heineke has would possibly beat in Minnesota and potentially possibly beating the undefeated 8-0 Eagles, and he looks at it like, hey, we're in playoff position at 6-4, and 7-4, excuse me, and we gonna stick with a hot hand. And I'm gonna be honest, I respect it. If he comes out and says that like at 7-4 after winning these last 4 games, what have you, and Heineke has been at the helm, we sticking with a hot hand. Okay, Ron, well prove me wrong.
Because as a coach, I mean, you almost expect that, unless Carson Wentz was Patrick Mahomes, or if he was like Josh Allen, or a top level, top tier quarterback who was balling before he got hurt, then you could almost say that.
Hmm.
But he hasn't.
Hmm.
But even on the contrary, I think even if they are undefeated the whole time he's out, I don't think Taylor Heineke has played to a lights out enough level where it's out of the question that Wentz will come back.
That you thank you, because one of the things that I pointed out earlier in the conversation about the Heineke Wentz factor, Wentz had several offensive line changes. Heineke came in on the cusp of getting back one of the staple centers. When I say staple, he was a second and third string center on this offense, and Heineke has practiced with this guy. He knows that he's more familiar with this guy, and Trey Turner and the Andrew Nowells of the world were coming back and getting into game shape. So he benefited more. And there was a stat, and I can be corrected on this stat. I heard today on 106.7 The Fan, where Wentz was Wentz was sacked 9% of his dropbacks, and Heineke at 4%. That's a 5% difference of being sacked. Heineke, I mean, Wentz was getting killed. So you trying to tell me Wentz was supposed to be Superman?
That part. That part. I agree. I agree. But I'll say this. I've gotten off the I'll get off Heineke. I'll cut him some slack because I've been catching a lot of heat, for
Man,
having
that's our quarterback, man. That's our quarterback,
it ain't the team quarterback because they ain't signed him 2 times, whatever. But I'm gonna stay off his back because they've been winning in spite of, and at times he has looked good. Like I said, man, that's one thing, bro. I'll bury you with I have the shovel for you, but when it's time to give you flowers, I'll definitely be the one to do that. You know what I'm saying? So
Absolutely.
I'll give him his flowers because
Absolutely.
he's done a good job with um trying to get the team to this point. And at this point, which is the midway point of the regular season, it's almost maybe the midway point of the show. And we got to take a break and talk about some news dropping this week. Some big news dropping this week. Randomly, if it was Wednesday, correct? Tweet
I
came out.
believe, yes, it was Wednesday, yes.
Tweet came out that the Washington Commanders have hired to help
Securities.
Bank of America Securities to help to help monitor and help deal with transactions of a possible impending sale of
Sale.
franchise. Let me read this article here. It's from the New York Times. It talks about the Washington Commanders owners hire bank to explore sale of team. Daniel and Tanya Snyder, the embattled owners of the NFL team, announced this week they would seek potential transactions related with the sale of the team. The article was released on Forbes, where they came out and really broke the story about the team hiring Bank of America Securities, which handles the sales of many big sports teams to consider potential transactions. Um, the article went on to say we're exploring all options. In 2021, bought out the Snyder bought the 40% of the franchise, the additional 40% to um buy out his was his minority owners there with the franchise, and they're estimating right now that Forbes is saying that the Commanders are worth $5.6 billion with a B, two I's, two L's, or then
Almost
$5.6 billion.
and it was something to add to that the team, I want to add to that the team, when he purchased, was less than $1 billion, or in the market of somewhere about 5 to 800 million when
I
he
think
purchased
reports
the
were
team.
it's 800 million that he put up completely. So to have that return come back on this team is a ridiculous number. And recently the Broncos were sold for $4.6 billion.
Hmm.
Um, so that's a lot. So I said that to say this. Why did this come out this week?
Why? That the key word. Why?
Now, let's put a pin in that right there. So, D Mitty, how did you feel when this story broke that the Bank of America Securities was hired to help seek transactions of the selling of the Washington Commanders franchise? How did you feel when that article came out? What did you think about that right there on the surface?
I believe I was scrolling social media, and when
And
I
you and
seen
you're
it,
going, and I'm gonna have to send you one cam, bro. So you going solo, bro.
I was scrolling social media, and I immediately when it came through, I had to go and search and Google search and Twitter search and Facebook search to make sure that this was real. And I was listening to 106.7 at the time, and when something breaks on there, they hold the horses up there too, and it was just like it almost felt like the world stopped.
Mhm.
And I literally felt like if this is true, the dark cloud is beginning to move west from this mid Atlantic area of this commanders Washington land of fans, and that dark cloud is beginning to move and evaporate because this organization is about to have new leadership from the top down, and just like the old folks say, when something stink, it stink from the head down. If you like the fish stink, it's from the head down. If you got to cut the head, you know, to clear that odor. But all that to say, I felt like this is this is the changing of the guard, the name change, bringing in Jason Wright, hiring Ron Rivera. Um, all that to say that this organization is really getting its cleanse that it needed to go back to a winning culture.
And D Mitty, when that came out, I'll say this, man. I was surprised, but
Yes.
I was hesitant to believe what was going on,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
just because they've hired another team, it could be like me hiring a realtor because I'm thinking about selling the house. You know what I mean?
Right.
Not necessarily deciding on doing it, but
Hmm.
thinking about it. So you get that and you kind of reading the article and we hopped in spaces immediately and started talking about it. My thing
Right.
was I was kind of slow to kind of put anything out there. I said
Right.
mostly, I feel like something else is about to happen. I feel like a shoe is about to drop. Something is going on.
Hmm.
Something to
Hmm.
the fire. I text our buddy Mike Callow at ESPN 630. I said, Mike, I said, bro, I feel like there's something else that's not being said or something else that's happening or about to happen where they are um about to where they're gonna have to sell.
Hmm.
And I put my phone down. I had a game that night. That's what it was. I had a game Wednesday night, and I just left it. I didn't talk about it no more.
Right. Right.
Mike,
Right.
Mike texted me back and said, "Well, there it goes." I went and looked. The Commanders,
Just
Daniel
as sure.
Snyder was getting is under another investigation for financial I can't even say the word. Uh,
Improprieties.
yes,
I believe
financial
it.
improprieties and other things dealing with money that he shouldn't have done, and he's now being investigated for that. So for me, that was it. I felt as though he done more than enough and was about to get
Yes.
hit up or whatever else is about to come out in this information uh is best for him to sell. So overall, after hearing that he's now under investigation, hearing the banter about if he's looking for minority owners, you heard the Jerry Jones statement that he mentioned earlier, where he doesn't know if they're looking for minority owners to help buy a stadium, um,
Hmm.
or they don't know specifically the reasons for it all. Overall, what do you think about the announcement to sell the team, and possibly that this could go way quicker than what we think?
Yeah, because you have to put that into factor that it was just a few months ago that the news came out that the area of the DC, Maryland, and Virginia, they either were entertaining giving the public money for a stadium, or they're retracting wanting to give money for the giving up money for the stadium.
And
So
and now they're
that
saying if a new owner comes in, they're looking to turn over the land, RFK land, to a new owner to put the stadium
and
in the city.
and for me, I look at it like this. As I look at it like this from Dan Snyder's perspective. I brought a team that I was a fan of as a child. I have, regardless of winning, the value of it has increased. I have these I have these shortcomings the with the reports and allegations that's coming out against me. I'm not able to build a stadium as quickly as I would like to before the lease ends on the current stadium that I'm in. What other way to gracefully bow out and do something for this franchise that I grew up loving and still have love for? What better way to bow out? And I know some people say, well, he might keep my minority stake, but to me, that still feels like he still has some type of saying or doing with that. And I don't think that is the case. I think he's going to gracefully bow out of this, given those things that I just stated as far as, turning over a value of this team, being able to bring a stadium to this area, and then he could take the sale of the team and go into a whole different sector of business. And even though he might have himself against him, I'm pretty sure he'll still be able to be to gain profit somewhere.
Absolutely, I agree. I agree, and I feel like it it, it just ran its course, and the team hadn't helped by not winning. And Dan has literally, like, every year for the past 5 years since he's been
Right.
here, has come under fire for something, whether it's financial improprieties, whether it's sexual misconduct, whether it's having to fire your front office staff. Of course, now my
Right.
camera goes out. Um,
But no, man, I mean, you're absolutely right. Think about it like this, man. Not the team, the NFL also helped him become majority owner of the team with the loan that they gave him for like close to $500 million to buy out his minority owners, which is the CEO and I think co-founder of FedEx and a couple of other gentlemen who were minority owners. So to me, that also plays a factor into why this sale is going to happen whenever it does, because now the NFL that has some percentage of ownership in this team by giving Dan that loan to be majority owner, that they're looking at it like, hey man, this is the best time to get your money and run. And that was a report that came out. I think Grant Paulson, uh, I could be wrong by quoting him on this, that he heard a quote where it was told to Tanya Snyder that, this is the best time to get your money and run because we have the votes. And
mm,
this and to me, when something like that is quoted, that's significant between the legion of owners that's in this particular multi-billion-dollar business in which we call the NFL.
all right, well, D Mitty, with that being said, okay, there's a lot of people that they're throwing in the mix, throwing their hat in the ring.
Hmm.
Uh, there's a couple articles out right now of who could be the possible buyers of the Washington Commanders. Who's on your short list of who should purchase the Commanders, man? And be honest. You don't have, you can say who you want, bro.
It's
Your
the
show.
it's the it's the notables, bro. It's the notables, and I'm gonna be real, and I'm gonna give reasoning behind my notables is the Jay-Z's of the world, and him getting with an ownership, getting with a group that will come in and be a part of rebranding this culture. Um, Bezos is slowly but surely talking to you and other people behind the scenes, and shortly moving off that short list. But what other sense does it make to have somebody that's already in partnership with the NFL to come in and have a team in the NFL and bring more money into the multi-billion-dollar business that it's already is, and make it bigger and make it bigger. So Bezos, Jay-Z, and even guys like I mean, I know this sounds crazy. Even guys like Kevin Durant, like these basketball players that can give up a few $1 million and find a way to invest and become minority owners and become minority owners. You know, I would love to see that happen. But there's a guy by the name of Byron Allen who also made a bid for the Denver Broncos, who's also an African American billionaire who's looking at owning a professional sports team, and he seems very passionate about owning a team. So Byron Allen, Jay Z, Bezos, and maybe a collective of some sports player that's from the area, like Kevin Durant. You know.
Okay. All right. Well, per SI.com, they have a short list of guys they think could be on the potential buying list. And I'll start from bottom up, quote unquote, as far as name recognition. We were talking off air about Robert Smith. Okay.
Hmm.
Robert Smith, founder of a private equity firm, Vista Equity Partners,
Yep.
had the backing of Goodell early in the Denver bidding process and wound up dropping out.
Hmm.
Is there a chance that he could be the first NFL black minority owner? Maybe for the
Hmm.
Commanders, we'll see. Celtics co-owner Steve Pachulia, who owns a Series A soccer team in Italy, is the co-chair of Bain Capital and has powerful friends in the NFL and a potential to emerge as a dark horse in the bidding. Austin technology magnate Michael Dell is another one who's super wealthy. His net worth is said to approach 50 billion. Who's shown interest in getting involved in the NFL, and he could check a lot of boxes like those other owners. Oracle's founder Larry Ellison, has shown interest in buying an NFL team in the past. Whether he want to do it at 78 and with a team on the other side of the country because he's in California remains to be seen. The Dodgers owner Mark Walter and Todd Bowley were also deep in the Denver bidding. They bought the English Premier League, Chelsea, early this year and gobbled up a minority stake in the Lakers last year. So that could kind of help them if
Right.
they want
Right.
to do it. Getting closer to the top of the list, you have Jose Feliciano and Baghdad Ekbali, who are owners of Clear Lake Capital, who was another one of the Denver bidders. Um, and they bid 4 million on the Broncos, 4 billion, excuse me. So they could be someone there. David
Okay.
Blitzer is a Harris partner and has stakes in the Sixers, the Guardians, and Real Salt Lake. He could also partner with Harris on a bid, as the two did in the Denver bidding, or could strike
Okay.
out of his own. And by Harris, he means Sixers co-owner Josh Harris, who's also one of the runners up for the Broncos. He said that he has said to be willing to go 5 billion, so it stand reason to make a major run at the Commanders. Matt Ishba, who's a former walk-on for Tom Izzo at Michigan State, was another Denver runner-up. Bro, I didn't realize a lot of these people bid on Denver
Actually,
last
put on the bid. Right. Right. As you said it, I'm thinking to myself, the report that came out that I seen was a short list. To hear these people, I mean, it was some people really interested in investing into a major sports team.
Also, this Ishba person is one of the big players behind funding for Michigan State's football coach Mel Tucker's 10-year, $95 million contract extension. I don't know, they may want some of that bread back though after that because he ain't been going to it. And of course, last but not least, Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, because of his ties to
Yeah.
the area, having bought the Washington Post and overall wealth, he's mentioned on every list of potential buyers until he says he's out. Amazon is now a broadcast partner. Might be a concern previously for some owners, but it is less so since he stepped down as the company's CEO, which would seem perfect except for this. There's significant doubt in league circles that Snyder would ever sell to Bezos because of his animus for the Post. So that goes into me and how I feel about Jeff Bezos. While on the surface, he may sound like an awesome owner and sound like somebody who could literally do anything he wanted for the franchise as far as buying a new stadium, putting all the types of money into the team. Dan has to be motivated to sell to you. And him and Dan have gone back and forth, whether sub tweet or whatever. You
Right.
know, they've been going back and forth for years. So I don't think unless he was like, I'll give you 20 billion for the Commanders, yeah, maybe they don't entertain it. But if all these other guys are offering what the actual
That's
evaluation
like 150% over asking value, right?
bro. And then even if he is some offer something like that, the owners are like, fam, I can't let you sell. Well, shoot, they might, because then they be like,
Because
because then it's
the other 14, yeah, the other 14.4 billion, they probably gonna look at it like you need to put that in the revenue share, brother.
something, or either or that take our overall value up for their franchise. But that be the thing,
Exactly.
man. Dan has to be motivated to want to sell to you, and well, I mean, I don't know business that well, but I know if I got 10 people offering me 6 billion, and if Bezos had to come in, like I said, Bezos had to come in at something ridiculous for me to even entertain it because I don't like you.
I think this is now. Let me just say this based on what you're saying. If you got a group of people that the people you name, right, and three of them come together with a group and they say, all right, since it's 5.6, we want to offer you 6.2, right? I'm just trying to draw like realistic numbers. So you got three groups over here saying 6.1, 6.2, 6.3, but then you got Bezos over here saying, I'll offer you 7.9, close to 8 billion. And for me, Snyder, I understand this man did what he did to you, but he's also springboarding you. He's doubling your net worth.
So, all right, check this out. So here's where I push back on that, right? Because I've never seen this type of money. We're all just speculating here what we would do. Okay. But check this out. I feel like I feel like 6 billion and 8 billion ain't that much of a difference, if that makes sense.
Now, for us, that 2 billion for us in between, that's real money for us, right? That's like that's that's life changing for everybody in our bloodline. If you feel me, but for them, and especially Bezos, that 6 to 8 billion to him is like a stack to us, probably.
If that, bro, he's worth 100+ billion dollars. So him throwing on another $1 billion in the deal.
It's not hurting him. So I look at it as like what we was joking about just a few seconds ago. If the owners look at Dan and be like, you need to get your money and run, and this is also going to help with their revenue share and getting then they saying that's going into TV money, and we know what that's really doing. That's just escalating the value of the other 31 teams franchises. If somebody else looks to potential sell just to be selling.
Hey, the fact that we just talking about this billion just reminded me to pray over this Powerball ticket I got for tonight. That's
It's for
7.
tomorrow night. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The 1.6 bill.
Dear God, ask that you bless these numbers. Bro, I promise you. If we pull up, look, let me tell you
Bro,
something, YouTube. If this is the last episode you see, I've won the Powerball, and I've given D Mitty some money as well. You don't have to worry about seeing him either. You never see him in it again. You know what, DH? He hasn't been in any spaces lately. Is he okay? No.
bro,
Go on with your life as if I don't exist because I
that's a
don't.
whole nother
I'm a, I'm a
conversation, bro.
billionaire.
That's a whole nother conversation,
Shit, I
brother.
might
I
buy the
feel
team.
you.
I might buy the team. I
Hey, I
look,
call because and think about let's say all right. So why we BSing about the whole thing? Like you remember when I don't know if you seen the RG3 actually put something out there where he said like he'll bring 10 fans with him.
but is he? I don't know. Is he being for real or is
So
he
somebody now I heard a reputable source. I don't want to quote who this is. I heard a reputable source say that he did actually get phone calls and he has now raised up to like a half a bill.
really?
He has some potential investors that's thrown in about 400 to 500 million dollars
Probably or committed to throwing that in if he get.
to get for minority stake because that'll pay off what Dan owes the NFL for the loan that he had. So
And
that's what I'm saying.
yeah, that's true. And another thing, bro, I didn't know this, but with the NFL, when you buy these teams, you have to put 30% down on the equity. So like they have to really pull up
So
with
who
the
has
chip,
that money out of everybody? We said who has that 30% right now?
bro, that's a lot. And I don't know math, but 30% of 6 billion is a lot of money.
That's at least $1 billion. That's at least $1 billion. Bezos can go to his Amazon bank account right now and write that check for Dan.
Bro, you know what? This is going completely off topic, but who cares? This is our show. So like when you have like an absorbent amount of money, like in the billions of dollars, like I wanted to even value money like that. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I feel like I would, bro, because I think about like this, man. Going back to winning the Powerball, right? So I'm I'm not a gambler, but I partake into the North Carolina Educational Lottery because of the educational
Yeah.
purposes, right?
When I go to Carolina,
So
I always support the kids too.
you feel me?
Do.
So looking at this $1.6 billion for me, if I was to be blessed with that, I know that they're going to say the cash value of that is about 750 million.
Yes.
And I say all that to say, if I know they're going to tax that, they can just
745.
write me a they can just write me a check immediately to go ahead and deposit it into my bank account for just 500,000. Just go ahead and give me 500,000 because for that's what I'm saying. Like, and I'm saying that to say like for them this kind of money we talking about winning, they 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 play with it. They done seen it. They done earned it. They done passed this money around. But
So
for us,
and I think we as fans, and I'll bring it back to football. I think we as fans look at contracts that players get. We look at money that they're talking about these franchises and organizations are worth, and we look
hmm
at them with our eyes because I don't know if I'm speaking
hmm
for you, but we've both been broke. Like I'm pretty sure that there's been some nights where we like, all right, is it noodles or is it gonna be pork and beans? Like we've all had some nights, and we probably
come
still
on
have
now,
some nights every now and again. Sometimes I
come
like to
on
just
now,
stay humble. You know what I'm saying?
come on
So
now.
it's like we've had those nights. So a lot of times as fans, we look at it from this perspective, because we've been broke before. We know what it's like not to have no bread. So when we see these guys, turn down these big contracts or throw these numbers around, it's crazy because we can't fathom making that type of money because of the things that we do, the jobs we have. We can't fathom making that type of money. I've never been good enough at sports to ever believe that I would make any absorbent amount of money. And even if I was that good in
To
sports,
change my life alone.
bruh, even if I was that good in sports, I'm 37. My career would be been over by now.
Oh
There's no
yeah. Oh, those definitely. I
my career,
always think about that too. Like my career would have been over. Like, what kind of money would I really have made if I was truly that had that God given talent?
and especially coming up like now, like if we were in our early 20s now, okay, yeah, that's something different because they're making
hmm
big bank now. But coming up when we would, dang, we sound old now. Coming up when we would have came up, we wouldn't have made no bread like that. I mean,
Let's
we made
just say, let's just say a decade ago, 100 million would have been the biggest contract, bro.
yeah.
That would have that would have been the biggest contract because I think about it now, bro. With LeBron and them, they averaging close to 40 just off of NBA money. And somebody, and this is something else that when we don't think and fathom of what these guys make. Jason Tatum had an interview yesterday, and I heard a lot of players that I ain't gonna say a lot. I heard a few players that do this. They come into the league, they sign their professional sports contract, but they don't spend that money. They only spend their endorsement money. So you telling me that you just signed a deal for $80 million and 60 million guaranteed, and you're not touching $60 million?
Because you gotta think, man, you know, some of that endorsement bread is so good. Like, I mean, of course, spend that. You know what
So
I'm
think
saying?
about like the Kobe Bryants of the world, like Giannis and Kawhi Leonard and them with the New Balance and Nike deals. So you telling me that they now that they making 200 million, they not touching $140 million until they retire and they get our age? Dang, I feel old.
It's okay. You know what? I'm okay. I'm perfectly okay with that because I know I didn't have the ability anyway.
hmm
If I was that good,
Yeah,
yeah, I'd be feeling some
respectfully,
type of way.
respectfully.
If I was that good, I would be feeling some type of way. But I don't because I know I
Yeah.
can't do it like they can. You know what I'm saying? And I'm happy for them, man. I truly
Oh
am. I'm
yeah.
genuinely happy that these guys are getting that money. Um, Dan is. I don't know how happy I'm gonna be for Dan for walking away from table with $6 billion. But I, we
and getting a check cut for 1.7 of that 30% that he gonna get up front. Him and Tanya, and man, bro, it's a whole other conversation with that. But I just feel like, man, once this sale happens, bro, and everybody in Commanders Nation like rejoice and sees this new regime, because regardless of who it is, everybody's looking at new stadium, like new culture, and potential winning, because on the field they feel like Dan is a part of the reason why we're losing on the field, because of the disdain he has across the league.
yeah. And D I say this, and I'm always sometimes I'm the glass half empty guy, but I'll
Mm-hmm.
say it like this because I'm just being honest. Fans, I'm looking you right in the camera. I hope this is what you want. I hope you get everything you want with this, because you've been clamoring for Dan to be moved away from for multiple years. And granted,
Yep.
he should have been with some of the things that he's done. But I'm hoping that for your sake, it is something that you will thoroughly enjoy and something that you are glad will happen. And I'm hoping you get success from this, because I'm tired of hearing about it. Okay. Frankly.
And I'm looking at you fans too. I'm on my John Allen issue, my Deron Payne. Don't come back if I wait, can't wait till Dan said nope, don't come back now, because you should have stayed and known that he was selling, and nope, don't come back. No, no, no.
and of, and of course, right on cue, the camera goes.
Wow. Hey, Dan must be watching, bro. Dan, we sorry. We appreciate you trying to be owner. We appreciate you coming in at 99, trying to build a culture. But we all see, even you see it, Dan.
He
It's
see it.
it's it's a monopoly, bro.
He see it. Well, let's do this. Let's move quickly because my equipment is trying to not work properly. So let's get in here. Let's talk about the Commanders' keys to victory this week as they take on the Minnesota Vikings, the very good Minnesota Vikings this year. A 1 p.m. start at FedEx Field, blackout game. D-Mitty, what are your keys to the game this week to get the W against Minnesota?
Man, I'm going to say the first key to this game is starting with the coaches. And it sounds a little cliche, but let's be realistic. Kevin O'Connell and that coaching staff should not be able to out scheme the. Well, let me take it back. Kevin O'Connell is a great coach, and I respect what he does on offense. Jack Del Rio should be able to bring a defense that will switch up what Kevin O'Connell wants to do with the Kirk Cousins at quarterback and be able to win this game. So one, scheme. Scheme is my one key to the game. My second key to this game is winning in the trenches. Every game, as any fan know, whether you're a novice, whether you're an expert, that's where the games are won and lost, in the trenches. And I feel like our defensive line can keep that offense off the field, get those three and outs, give the ball back to our offense, and with this O line continuing to get better and better each week, know that they're not the top of the league, but they're getting better and getting better each week, as we can see with the run game and being consistent with bringing out the game. And my third key to the game: explosive plays. Limit them and get some on your end. When are we going to see a pick six, my brother?
Yeah, we've been
I
calling
want
for
to
that.
pick.
We've been clamoring for that. And defense is been getting closer to getting takeaways, but they got to get those because they need some pick six. I'll say this, man. My key to the game this week, and it's really one big key.
Mhm,
It's minimizing mistakes, right? I understand everybody out here striving for perfection, but we'll never achieve it, right?
mhm,
But the key is to minimize some of these mistakes. So I'm talking about penalties. I'm talking about things that we can control. I'm talking about errant throws. I'm talking about missed tackles. We have to limit the mistakes, and you have to capitalize on a good team like Minnesota, who plays goods on both sides of the football. Kirk Cousins is going to pitch it around the yard. The defense has played well, and you're going to have to get some plays. You got to get some chunk plays. Those 50-50 balls, you're gonna hope they go your way at home. But you have to make some plays
true.
and you have to minimize the mistakes. So Taylor Heineke, I'm talking to you right now, sir. Look, man, I didn't have faith in you before, okay? But I got faith in you this week. I got faith because everybody else has faith and they believe in you. So I'm riding with you, man. I'm hoping that You can lead the team to victory, and just take it one play at a time, not try to win it all, and don't lose it all on every play, man. Just maintain your composure and play well. And I think he's shown that they've tailored the offense to what he can do. So they're gonna do a lot of movement. They're gonna try to run the ball. I think if they can get that run game going, it may be a low scoring contest. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but we're gonna also have to stop the run because Dalvin Cook, um, the dude is a beast. And Kirk Cousins is going to be able to find those open guys underneath because that's what he does well. Captain check down. Okay. So we got to
Mm-hmm.
minimize our mistakes. And more or less, that's my main key to the game. And we hadn't really talked about this game too much because we've been talking about everything else mostly. And because I think at the end of the day, it ain't too many analysis, ain't too much analysis you can do. You got to go win.
Got
You
you got to
understand?
go win, man.
You understand that?
You got
Yeah.
to you got to put together a good you got to put together a good game plan, man. And the players got to believe in that game plan, man, and go out there and execute it. Because one thing that I think was swept under the rug by us fans was Ron's, what's the word I'm looking for? Ron's, I don't want to use the word disgust, but it was the first word that came to my mind with some of the small things or some of the things that players were doing. They were playing off script. And even though the team won in a very emphatic, a very, thrilling fashion, he was upset that there were players that were doing things. They were going rogue in certain schemes and plays, and I mean, and to me, that right there, as a coach, I I, I mean, the hair stood on my arm. I was like, okay, coach,
Because he
okay,
definitely called him out on that.
even though you got the win, you still looking at it from like we could have lost to a better team like a Chiefs or a Bills, you know, if we continue to do stuff like that. So with that being said, once again, it's up to these coaches to put together a game plan and these players to believe in it and go out there and execute, man, because I like to match up against Kirk Cousins with this defense. I truly do. And on defense, the Vikings are going to be missing Dalvin Thompson, which is interior defensive lineman that I myself respect. Not saying he's a world beater, but he makes plays in the run game.
Yeah, he does, man. And the NFL.com predicts the score as Minnesota 23, Commanders 20. Commanders are 3-point favorites in this game. I'm sorry, the Vikings are 3-point
Three
favorites
point favorites. Yeah.
in this game. Look, I mean, that's why the game is played on the field, man. The game is played on the field. You have to go out there and just do what you do best and try to get a dub. And you have to understand where you are. You're 4-4 on a 3-game win streak, and you're taking on the 6-1 Vikings who played very well this season. So
Yeah.
you know what you have to do, and you have to go out and play, man. And it's play by play, game by game, and you have to do what you got to do to beat those guys. And at the end of the day, that's really what it is. Ain't too much analysis we can say in regards to that. D-Mitty, let's get ready to close up
Yes,
shop.
man.
But before we do, man, we got to do our favorite segment, and it's time to get wild. Oh, let's get wild.
You go first. You lead off, bro. You lead off this week,
All
man.
right, D-Mitty. Tonight for my Let's Get Wild segment, I'm going with the defensive line. I want my defensive line. I want my front four to get wild. You got Chase Young coming back this week to practice. He's doing his best. He's getting ready. The clock is on. He may be back next week against Philly, but this week he's getting ready. The dogs are barking. And I feel like this week the D-line is going to get wild. They're going to hit Kirk Cousins. They're going to get some sack fumbles. They're going to get an interception this week. They are going to do what they can to stop Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings this week. And the front four defensive line will be the reason that it happens. Yeah. Demon.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going on the other side of the ball with that old line. Andrew Noel, Trey Turner, you big apes, you big bacon smelling, 12 sandwich eating guys, y'all better push that defensive line back. You hear me? Ooh, yeah. I need that. Hey, Sam Cosmo, are you coming back or not, brother? Because we need you, brother. Ooh, yeah. And I'm trying to tell you, hey, man, that Tyler Larson, man, you big country smelling pig carrying brother, you better get out there and push that old line back. Listen here, let me tell you, brother, y'all better not let that Vikings defensive line show you up. Y'all better Get
I feel like the old lady used to go to my church, bro. She used to do that. And that was this week's segment of Let's Get Wild, Week 9 edition of Let's Get Wild. So we're hoping that
yes,
those
sir.
boys get wild this week and help the Commanders get another victory under their belt to go above 500. Look at that. 5-4 we hope to get at the end of this season.
Five.
D it's time to get up out of here real quick, man. Final thoughts on today's episode. Anything you want to go through, anything you want to talk about for this last segment, for this last episode, or for this episode, rather.
That is, brother. With this particular game with this week, man. I'm so excited for the blackout jerseys. I'm so excited for this team going out there and to prove that with everything we talked about before the keys of this game, all that, they don't give a about that, bro. They don't give a flam about that. Those guys are gonna want to go out there and play. And if you want to make your money, guys, if you want to play, if you want to get the bigger earnings, go out there and prove it, Derek Force. Go out there and prove it, Cam Curl. Go out there and prove it, Montez Sweat. And I believe they will.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Hey, look, man. You should have did that for Let's Get Wild, brother. No, I'm
Hey,
joking. No, it's,
hey, it was still let me, bro. It was still let me, dog.
no, it's a lie. It's a lie. It's a lie. No, but look, I'll say my final thought on the upcoming game, man. Like you said, bro, everything else is a distraction with this team. Okay. Or for us, we perceive it as a distraction. Let's hope that this galvanizes the guys and say, hey, look, regardless of what's going upstairs, regardless of what's going on in the media and around us, we still got a job to do for now. So we got to play
Absolutely.
how we can play and get a dub against one of the better teams in the league. And if we do what we're supposed to do, like we've been doing for the past 3 weeks, winning in spite of, then we'll be fine. But we
Man,
have to do what we have to do.
just imagine, bro, taking the Vikings down to 6-3, putting the league on notice with a 4-game win streak, bringing the NFC least back to the NFC beast because we are still in a division that has the best record in the NFL. So let's continue
23.
to add on. So let's continue to add on to us, and potentially get 3 to 4 teams in the playoffs.
Hey, man, I love to see it. And of course, as they march toward the playoffs, we will be right here chronicling that march as they go. And let's hope that this week we see another Washington Commanders victory. And I promised you guys that I would not gritty until they lost again. So I will not be posting any gritties on social media, even though I want to, but I'm not going to. But shout out to the Washington Commanders. And we hope to get another dub this week. Let's take command and let's go get a dub. Hell to the Washington Commanders. Left hand up. Who are we? The
The
Commanders.
Commanders.
Commanders. Commanders. Fight for ODC. Who are we? The Commanders. Hey, those haters can't stand us.
Hey, hey, I'm sorry. I ain't gonna, I'm not gonna go. We good. We good. Let's close this thing out, bro. We don't put too much stank on that thing, man.
Hey, we'll catch y'all on the flip side. Peace.